If I could sit my younger self down right now, fresh-faced, cocky, convinced I had all the time in the world, I'd grab those shoulders and say, "You're wrong. You think life's this straight. Endless road. Years to chase success. Stack wins. Find happiness. Figure out what it all means. You're hustling, dreaming, telling yourself it's all just up ahead, waiting for you. But here's the cold, hard truth I wish someone had told me, one day. Sooner than you can imagine. You'll wake up, and that future you've been sprinting toward, you're standing right in it. The trophies you chased, the fears you dodged, the life you swore would define you, they won't mean what you thought. Midlife hits, and it's not a crisis. It's an awakening. A gut punch that says, stop running. Start living. Stick with me. Because 6 of the greatest minds who ever wrestled with this messy thing called life, Jung, Maslow, Frankl, and more, they're here to show you what I couldn't see back then. And it's about to change everything. Look at yourself for a second. Really look. For years, you've been grinding to be the right kind of person. The one who fits in. Who nails the job interview. Who gets the nods of approval from family, friends, the world. You've built this version of you. Polished, respectable, safe, and you've told yourself, this is me, this is who I am. But if Carl Jung was sitting here, he'd lean in close and say, that's only half the story. The other half, it's what he called your shadow. And it's been with you all along. Your shadow isn't some spooky ghost. It's the parts of you you've shoved into the basement of your mind. The doubts you pretend don't exist. Like that nagging voice asking if you're on the wrong path. The fears you bury. Like failing big or being seen as a fraud. The ambitions you've stuffed down because they felt too wild. Too risky. Too selfish. Like quitting that soul-sucking job to chase something crazy. Or admitting you're not happy in the life everyone else admires. You've spent so long hiding these pieces, convincing yourself they don't matter, that they're not you. But here's the kicker: Jung spent his life figuring out, they don't just disappear. They fester. Ignore that shadow, and it'll run your life from the dark. Ever snap at someone and wonder where that anger came from? That's your buried fear lashing out. Ever feel restless, chasing distractions, scrolling, drinking, working too much? That's your unspoken desires twisting into regrets. Jung saw it in people all the time. We wear masks to feel safe, to look good, but the longer we pretend, the more that shadow pulls the strings. You think you're in control, but you're not. Not until you turn around and face it. So what happens when you do? When you stop running? Jung said that's when you find what's missing. That shadow isn't your enemy. It's your missing half. It's the raw, messy, real you that's been waiting to come up for air. Maybe it's the courage you didn't know you had, or the dream you've been too scared to chase. It's not pretty. It's terrifying. But it's yours. And facing it, that's where freedom starts. How do you even begin? Stop pretending. Grab a pen. Right now. Pause this video if you have to. And write down what you avoid thinking about. That thing that keeps you up at 3 a.m. That resentment you can't shake. That what if you've never said out loud. That's your shadow knocking. Don't judge it. Just look at it. Ask why it's there. Jung put it best, the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. But here's the payoff. He also said it's the most liberating. Because when you stop fighting yourself, you're not just half a person anymore. You're whole. And that, my friend, is power no one can take away. Take a second and think back. When was the first time you tasted success? Maybe it was landing that first big job. Cashing a paycheck that made you grin. Or hearing someone say, you've made it. That rush hit you like a shot of adrenaline. Proof you were somebody. You told yourself, this is it. More of this. And I'll be set. More wins. More applause. And I'll finally feel whole. But if Abraham Maslow were here, he'd shake his head and say, you've got it backwards. See? Maslow didn't just study success. He dug into what makes a life feel full. And what he found flips everything you've been chasing on its head. Maslow's big idea was this: real fulfillment isn't about what you stack up. Money. Titles. Likes on your latest post. It's about who you become along the way. You've been climbing this ladder. Right? Hustling for the next promotion. The bigger house. The louder clap on the back. And for a while, it works. That buzz keeps you going. But here's the moment that sneaks up on you. One day, you'll get that corner office. That fat bonus. That employee of the year nod. And it'll feel hollow. Not because you didn't earn it, but because it's not enough anymore. The trophies don't fill the quiet inside. That's not failure, my friend. That's your wake-up call. Maslow called it self-actualization. And it's the point where the game changes. Self-actualization isn't another shiny prize. It's you stepping into the person you were meant to be. Not the version your boss wants. Or your parents bragged about. Or your Instagram followers double tap. It's deeper. It's waking up and asking, am I chasing someone else's dream? Think about it, that job you're killing yourself for. Did you pick it? Or did it pick you? That life you're building. Does it light you up? Or just look good on paper? Maslow saw that most people never get here. They stay stuck, piling up wins that don't fit. Scared to let go of the ladder they've climbed so hard. Not you. You've got a shot to break free. So how do you make the shift? Start by looking hard at what drives you. Are you proving something? To the world? To your doubters? To yourself? That's the old game. Flip it, stop proving. Start becoming. Say no to what drains you. Say yes to what pulls you. Even if it's messy. Even if it's small. Maybe it's trading the 9 to 5 for something you do for free. Maybe it's less hustle. More peace. Maslow knew the truth. Real success isn't loud. It's quiet. It's not a trophy on a shelf. It's a certainty in your gut that you're finally living your life. And when you get there, you don't need the applause. You've already won. You've been chasing happiness your whole life, haven't you? Like it's this shiny prize just out of reach. Get the better job. Find the perfect partner. Move into that dream house. Then you'll finally feel it. Right? That's the script we're all sold. Work hard. Win big. And happiness shows up like a reward. But if Viktor Frankl were here, he'd sit you down and tell you something that'd stop you cold. Happiness. It's not something you catch. It's something that finds you. But only when your life has meaning. And Frankl didn't just theorize this. He lived it. Through hell itself, Frankl survived the Nazi concentration camps. Stripped of his family, his career, his freedom. Most people would have broken. And many did. But he watched something incredible. Some held on. Not the strongest. Not the luckiest. But the ones who found a reason to keep going. Maybe it was a promise to see a loved one again. Or a quiet vow to tell the world what happened. In the middle of unimaginable suffering, Frankl discovered this truth: happiness isn't the point. Meaning is. And it comes in 3 ways: through work that matters, love that's real, and even the pain you turn into something bigger than yourself. Think about your life right now. You've been running after that happy feeling. New car, bigger paycheck, more likes on your posts. But it never sticks. Does it? There's always that whisper, is this it? Frankl would say that's because you're looking in the wrong place. Meaning isn't in the stuff you grab. It's in what you give. Start with work, not just clocking in, but creating something that outlasts you. Could be raising kids who'll change the world, or building a business that helps people, or even scribbling words that hit someone's soul. Like this video might hit yours. Then love, not the Hollywood kind, but the gritty, real stuff. Friends who drop everything for you. A stranger you lift up with a kind word. That's where life gets rich. And suffering. That's the hardest one. Pain's coming. Lost jobs. Broken hearts. Dark nights. You can't dodge it. But Frankl learned you can transform it. That breakup that gutted you. It taught you what you're worth. That failure that crushed you. It showed you how to fight. Meaning isn't handed out. It's forged. Feeling stuck. Look at your life. What are you creating? Who are you loving? How are you growing through the hard stuff? That's your purpose staring back at you. Frankl said it best, life doesn't give meaning. You choose it. So stop chasing the high. Build something real. That's when happiness sneaks in. And stays. Let's be real. Change scares the hell out of you. You've felt it, haven't you? That moment when you're staring down a big decision. New job, new city, new you. And your brain just freezes. You overthink every angle. Weigh every what if. Tell yourself you'll move when you're ready. But ready never comes. Does it? You're stuck, spinning. Waiting for a green light that doesn't exist. Søren Kierkegaard, this wild Danish thinker, had a name for that feeling, the dizziness of freedom. It's that gut-twisting fear when you realize your life's wide open. No script, no map, just you and the choices you've been dodging. Kierkegaard didn't sugarcoat it, freedom's terrifying. It's standing at the edge of a cliff, knowing you could jump, knowing you could fall. You've felt the edge. Maybe it's the job you dream about. The one you scroll past on LinkedIn but never apply for. Or the life you want. The one where you ditch the safe routine and move to that town you've always pictured. Or finally tell someone what you really think. It's right there, calling you. But fear locks your feet in place. You tell yourself, not yet. Too risky. What if I screw it up? And that's where Kierkegaard drops the secret most people miss, that fear. It's not a wall keeping you out. It's a door swinging open. Everything you've ever wanted. Real adventure. Real purpose. It's on the other side of that fear. But here's the catch, you'll never feel certain. Waiting for the perfect moment is a lie you tell yourself to stay comfortable. Kierkegaard saw it clear as day. Life doesn't hand you guarantees. It hands you chances. And the only way through is to leap, right when that mix of terror and excitement hits you square in the chest. Think about it, when's the last time you felt that rush? Maybe it's starting that side hustle you're scared will flop, or walking away from a relationship that's suffocating you. That's the signal. Not to run, but to jump. How do you do it? First, spot the moment. When something scares you and lights you up, that's your clue. Second, ditch the need for a safety net. Certainty's a myth, and you don't need it. Third, move before you talk yourself out of it. Step off the cliff, hit send on that email. Pack the bag. Kierkegaard nailed it. To dare is to lose your footing momentarily. Not to dare is to lose yourself. Falling's a risk, sure. But staying put, that's a slow death. You're not built to play it safe forever. Leap, and you'll see, you were always meant to land on the other side. Stronger, freer, alive. You've been wearing masks so long you barely notice them anymore. You know the ones? Saying yes when every fiber of you screams no. Laughing at jokes that bore you. Showing up to places you'd rather skip. All to keep the peace. To fit in. You've built a life that looks good on the outside. Nice job. Polite nods. A social media grid that screams I've got it together. But deep down, it feels off, doesn't it? Like you're playing a role in someone else's movie. Carl Rogers. This quiet genius who spent his life studying what makes us real, would look at you and say, "That's not freedom. That's a cage you built yourself." Rogers had this wild idea: the only way to feel free is when who you are inside matches how you live outside. He called it congruence. Fancy word. Simple truth. You're not just the polished version you show the world. You're also the messy, loud, weird, dreaming parts you've kept locked up. But here's the thing, you've spent years censoring that real you. You bite your tongue when you want to speak up. Shove down what excites you because it doesn't fit the plan. Maybe it's painting instead of punching a clock, or telling your family you're done with their expectations. You've convinced yourself that's strength. Keeping it together. Rogers would call it a slow surrender. Think about the last time you felt truly alive. Not just going through the motions, but lit up, free. Maybe it was singing off key in your car. Or that night you told a friend the unfiltered truth and they still stuck around. That's the you Rogers wanted you to find. Not the one who nods along to avoid waves, but the one who'd rather make a splash. Problem is, you've worn those masks so long you're not even sure who's underneath anymore. And that's scary. Peeling them off means risking judgment, failure, being seen. But Rogers knew something else. You're not broken for feeling lost. You're just unfolding, layer by layer. So how do you start? First, quit censoring yourself. Next time you catch yourself tweaking your words to sound nice, stop. Say what you mean, even if it's raw. Second, pay attention to what excites you, not what your boss, your buddies, or your feed expects, but what makes your pulse kick up. That's your compass. Third, cut yourself some slack. Accept that you're not a finished product, just a work in progress. Rogers put it perfectly: the good life isn't a finish line. It's a process. No more waiting for permission or perfection. Drop the mask today. That smile underneath, it's been waiting for you all along. You've got this story in your head, don't you? It's been there so long it feels like truth. Your past owns you. That screw up when you were 20. The job you lost. The time someone said you'd never amount to much. It's all chained you down. Mistakes, regrets, labels. They're the ink you've used to write who you are. I'm the one who always messes up. I'm not cut out for more. This is just how my life goes. If Alfred Adler were here, he'd slam that book shut and tell you straight, that's not reality. That's just a story you've been telling yourself. And the good news, you can rip it up and start over. Adler spent his life studying why people stay trapped, not in their circumstances, but in their heads. He saw it clear. It's not what happened to you that keeps you stuck, it's the meaning you slap on it. That fight with your dad that left you feeling small. That breakup that convinced you you're unlovable. Those aren't facts. They're chapters you've let define you. You've been walking around like yesterday's the boss. Like you're a prisoner serving a life sentence for who you used to be. But Adler's got a different take. You're not locked in by your past. You're the author of your tomorrow. That pen? It's been in your hand the whole time. So how do you rewrite it? First, challenge the lies you've bought into. Grab a mirror. Or hell, just close your eyes and list them out. I'm a failure. I'm not enough. I'll never get it right. Now ask, is that carved in stone? Or just something you've repeated so long it's stuck? Adler would push you to dig for proof of the opposite. That time you pulled through when no one thought you could. Write it down. That moment you made someone's day. Even when you felt low. That counts. You're not just your stumbles, you're your comebacks too. Then, here's the big one, act like the person you want to be. If you believed you were capable, what would you do tomorrow? Pitch that idea. Walk away from what's dragging you down. Say yes to something that scares you. Start moving like that story's already true. Because the second you do, it is. Adler knew the past is just a reference, not a rule book. You're as free as you decide to be. So burn those old pages. The guilt. The should-haves. The limits you borrowed from someone else. Pick up the pen. Write strong. Write worthy. Write mine. Your life's not a rerun. It's a first draft. Rewrite it. Right now. And watch what happens when you step into the story you were always meant to tell. So, younger me, and maybe you watching this right now, midlife isn't the end of the road. It's the moment you stop chasing shadows and start living for real. Carl Jung showed you're not broken, just unfinished, a work in progress with more to uncover. Maslow flipped the script on success. It's not the trophies. It's who you become. Viktor Frankl handed you the key. Meaning isn't out there, you build it. Kierkegaard turned fear into your green light. Jump when it calls. Rogers tore off the masks, setting you free to be you. And Adler, he put the pen in your hand. Your story's yours to rewrite. This isn't a crisis, it's your awakening. Your real life, the one that's yours alone, isn't behind you? It's just beginning. So, what's your next step? Drop it in the comments. I'm reading every single one. And I want to hear how you're stepping up. If this hit you, hit that subscribe button. Join me here for more on owning your life. Let's keep this going together.